Florida State. I want to practice.
Oh, there's no question. He's a tough competitor, and you basically had to take the helmet from him on that game versus NC State because he wanted to come back in the game. But he knows no fear. You know, that's what makes him a special player. He's not afraid of contact, and he wants to be out there with his guys. You know, he believes in his ability to help his football team win, and he just loves to play.
Now you've been diving into the tapes, looking at this Florida State defense. Does this defense look different now than what it did probably a month ago when it gave up 63 to Louisville?
Oh, I think that's a fair assessment right there. When you watch them early in the season, there's no question that Florida State's always going to have a ton of athletes on the field. They're going to have some of the best guys in every position throughout the entire country. And I think they were doing a lot of things on defense early in the season, but you notice the last 4 games, looks like they kind of simplified and just allowed their athletes to go out and play. So you definitely see a difference in them as opposed to the first couple games of the season.
Where is Wayne at as far as physically as it has concussion protocol?
Obviously I don't know that, what the procedure is, what the protocol is. All I know is he's out at practice. Obviously he's limited in what he can do. We're hopeful that this week he's going to be able to go full go. But you ask Wayne, you look at him, he looks fine. But again, I don't live in that world. Medically, the diagnosis is safe. He's cleared it. But I know that they talk and they got good hopes for him playing this week.
Do you have a basic understanding how the protocol has changed this year or in recent years, just with so much attention on concussions and concussion protocol?
Obviously, I think there's a heightened sense, heightened alarm about the concussions. Obviously, I think we have more data over the years to see the potential long-term effects of guys that suffer several concussions. I let Coach, Coach Sweeney and Danny Poole and all those guys determine the actual protocol. If they say a guy's had a concussion, you want to err on the side of being cautious. You don't want to put him in, but they got their computer systems and their analysis that they use to make sure that young man's fit to come back and compete.
Wayne didn't even want to call it a concussion. Have you seen that with players, that they are hesitant to admit that because they know that the protocol ahead of them would then follow?
I would imagine there's some of that, but I think in Wayne's situation it was more, I think he was knocked unconscious immediately when he was hit and came back to and didn't really feel any symptoms of his head or his brain being injured. So I think it was more of how he was feeling as opposed to not wanting to call it a concussion. But obviously Danny and those guys, they took him in, they x-rayed him, and they evaled him, they found out that obviously there was something that wasn't right, so they kept him out of the game.
When you see a hit like that,
planning for Wayne on Saturday, or not, or just not having?
Obviously we got a game plan as if he's playing. But again, I got the question after the NC State game when he went out, the game plan changed. The game plan didn't change. Our run game is our run game, and those guys got to step up and be prepared. And obviously, so we're excited about the possibility of having him back, but we won't know the determination until those guys give us the full go ahead later.
when you see a hit like
How much did it help last week that they all got the first team reps instead of Wayne getting them in practice all last week?
I think it helps a ton. If you go back and you analyze CJ in the game, thought he did some good things, but you also saw there were some opportunities, where he could have done a little bit better. But I think it was an experience factor. Wayne's played a lot of football. He's been in those battles. He understands and has a chemistry with his offensive line, whereas some of those guys that are down the line aren't getting quite as many reps. It takes reps and repetition with those guys and getting comfortable to be able to extend those 3-yard plays to 5-yard plays to 7-yard plays. And I think that's what you're getting in Wayne Gallman. So it was critical for all those guys, and then the other thing too, I think anytime you're a backup, you always tell them to be prepared for your opportunity, prepare as if you're a starter. But it's a little bit different when you got a guy in front of you. You tend to not necessarily prepare as if you're the starter. So all those guys got put in that position, and they see how hard and how difficult it is to be the first guy.
when you see a hit like that, does it make it hard? Do you think anybody really understands what's a penalty these days, what isn't? What should be called, what shouldn't be?
They've done their research. They come up with rules and ways to analyze it, and you see different calls that as coaches you might think are targeting throughout the course of the country. If you watch games this past weekend, you saw some hits that you thought might be targeted that weren't called, and you saw some other ones that weren't targeting. So I think it's all interpretation of the rule. I know in Wayne's case it was it was a tough hit, and obviously when you go back and slow it down, and obviously you see there may be an opportunity for a penalty. But in live speed, everything's happening fast. You see two guys with a tough collision like that. So I understand that there's always going to be question, but it's a judgment call, and I'm glad that they do have the instant replay situations to go back and correct some of the situations.
If Wayne's limited or unavailable, I know how highly you guys hold the practice lead up to a game in that situation, but the way CJ did run against NC State, would he have the upper hand on the other guys to be the starter, give them the reps, or how would you approach that?
I think coming out of that game, right now, if the situation where Wayne wasn't available, he would be the guy that, and as long as, he goes out and has a great week of practice, and he had a good off week, and you saw a little bit of a different pep in his step, understanding what the responsibility of being a number one guy is, and those other guys are nipping at his heels. But I think right now, if we went into it, CJ would be better.
Was he getting first team reps last week when he was out?
CJ, yes.
Tony, Sean was in here earlier talking about bye week being a good time for players to sort of like reassess their goals or, you know, kind of look a little deeper into that aspect of it. Is that normal at this point in the season, or is it a function of the fact that maybe you guys haven't played to your full potential yet?
You know, I think it's more every week as coaches we try to evaluate ourselves from the previous week, and we try to compile data, you know, as we go week to week to make sure that we understand what we're doing, where our deficiencies are, where our strengths are. And I think players, it's a little bit more difficult, you know, because they're balancing their social life, their school life, everything that's going on. So I think anytime you have an off week, it gives them an opportunity to kind of step back and do exactly what you said, to reevaluate their goals. For us offensively, you know, we still believe we have our best game ahead of us. We've done some good things. Even in the NC State game, we did some good things offensively. We just had some players that kind of overshadowed how well we played offensively. So, I think it came like a good time about it. You know, we allowed the guys to kind of take a breath and see that we're right on track to where we want to be with all the goals we have set before us, but also a way to evaluate themselves and to be honest with themselves and say, if we're going to accomplish those goals, you know, it's going to take a little bit more from everybody.
Are you guys playing kind of carefree football, or is there more on them this year just because of just how scrutinized everything is when you're in this position?
You know, I think early in the season, you know, they probably felt the pressure a little bit, but I think here lately they've been going out having fun. You know, they're back to having fun, playing sometimes at too careless, you know, at times. And if you go back in, and I know the biggest question is going to be the turnovers, but if you go back and look, obviously there's one situation down on the goal line where their guy made a play on one of our guys to strip the ball out. The other one was more effort play. And so the guys are playing hard, they're having fun. We're always scrutinize every single play, and over time, you know,
Point out the pressure that they were bringing, how much of a premium it was for the tailbacks and tight ends to be helping to protect Deshaun. Expect Florida State to be more the same or even more pressure?
You know, it's hard to tell because early in the season they were a heavy pressure team. They did some different things and some exotic things on third down, and now you see them, you know, kind of playing a lot more base, you know, in different situations. So they got an off week, they got time to prepare. You know, they got an opportunity to get their guys healthy as well, to get back some more depth in the secondary. So we're preparing for both aspects. Obviously, got to prepare for any pressure situation because again, you know, one of our you know, one thing we pride ourselves in is not letting the quarterback get hit. So they're going to try and find ways to get to Deshaun, so they got to generate pressure. They can do that. They're good enough up front to be able to get pressure with four, where they don't have to blitz and play coverage. But then also they're talented enough that you know, they can bring guys from different spots, from the secondary, from the back level. They can change structures. So they can do a lot of things. So we're preparing for both, to pick up the pressure, but then also to be able to manufacture drives going down the field.
Do you want to see Deshaun more active in the running game?
You know, I think whatever the game calls for. Obviously, if they present opportunity for him to pull a dump ball down and run, we're going to go into every game plan with the specific plans for him to have quarterback runs. And again, not just because he's a dynamic athlete, but anytime you can run the quarterback, you pick up an extra hat, so that gives you an advantage. It gives you an extra blocker, in the run game. So we'll always have a plan, and then again, each game kind of dictates, how effective he is running football.
With Erman Lane making the switch to safety less than a month ago, how much do you want to exploit that with Deshaun?
He's a tremendous athlete, and obviously we'll be conscious when number 7 does come into the game. But they do a good job of protecting him in terms of keeping him deep. Sometimes bring him up in a blitzing situation. So I don't think they're going to present an opportunity where you can just create a matchup and pick on him because they put him in a position where they kind of keep him out of it, but then also times they put him in positions where he's rushing the passer. So I haven't seen anybody or noticed anything in particular on film where people have been able to exploit him.
You mentioned how many great athletes Florida State has. Do they stand out in that regard in comparison to other teams who played this year?
No, in terms of physically, yes, they do. Obviously, if you look at their linebackers, I don't think we've seen 2 linebackers with the length and athleticism, that they have at linebacker. And then defensive ends, obviously are 2 of the best in the country. Sweat off the edge is very, very quick switch off the edge. And then number 44, Marcus, he can play multiple positions. So, and then those 2 big guys inside are probably the 2 best interior D linemen that we've seen to date. And they got a ton of skill guys. I mean, they just keep rolling. 37, number 1, 24, 24. They just got guys on that back end that are all athletic, and they all look about the same.
DeMarcus, do we chip or anything to kind of, you always have an idea of where he is?
I think you got to be conscious of where number 44 is, and in every game plan we go into, you always have to have a disaster plan. These things aren't going right, so we'll work at it regardless of whether it's Florida State or next week when we play Syracuse. So we had it for NC State, we had it for Boston College. We're always going to have a plan to help our guys. For some reason, we came to a situation where we have a match.
Pretty confident in your line.
I think there's enough evidence to be confident. Obviously, I know that there was a situation up at Boston College where we didn't play our best, and we got the quarterback hit, and then you come back for NC State, which some say has one of the best defensive lines in the country, and you hold your own, and then you do the same thing versus Louisville in terms of protecting the quarterback. So very, very confident as long as those guys are prepared to come and play.
Coach, speaking of that, Coach Sweeney told us that Jake Rumorgan had probably his best game against NC State. How would you assess his development halfway through the season?
I think that you've seen good and bad, more good than you've seen bad. I think the Boston College was a wake-up opportunity for him that you got to be prepared. You got to perform every time you step out on the field. And, he was challenged after that game, and you saw him come back, and you saw him work on the things that he needed to work on to be successful. And it was the technical things of staying balanced in his sets and also punching his hands when he needed to punch his hands. And so as long as he continues to play at that level, then you're going to see great things out of him. And again, he's a young guy, and any young guy's going to have a bad game here and there. It's just how do you respond? And that was a positive thing that you saw to take, that he responded the right way.
We've seen Tavian do some good things with the ball in his hands. Where is he with the ball out of his hands and his pass protection?
He's actually getting a lot better. One thing that I don't know if a lot of people knew about Tavian is coming out of high school, he was a guy that you either handed the ball to or you ran a route. He wasn't asked to do a whole lot of pass protection. And so first you got to learn how to identify defense, to know who you're picking up. Then you have to have an understanding of what the offensive line's doing. And then anytime those guys up front shift and move, it changes your targeting and your responsibility. Then you got to add the technique piece of it. So I've been very, very pleased with his progress. He's a very intelligent young man. He takes pride in his work. He's learning how to identify. The technique is coming along. So I'm pleased with where he is at pass protection. And I'm excited that he comes to work every single day.
In your estimation, what are going to be the biggest keys to success this weekend? Tallahassee, another big primetime game for the Reds.
I think is these guys are going to be fired up to play, but emotion is not going to win the game. It's going to come down to our players, winning the matchup. So I think we got to have great effort. We got to be sound with the football in terms of knowing the details of everything we want to do. We can't turn the ball over, and at the end of the day, when your numbers call, you got to win your one-on-one matchup. So we got to stay. We got to be excited to play, but we got to be under control. We got to make sure we take care of the football, and we got to go win our one-on-one matchups.
Is there been much emphasis this week on snaps, getting lined up correctly, all those little things that you struggle with on the road, and a lot of them do those kind of things?
Of course, and then just as a whole, with the open week, it's an opportunity for us to go back and self-scout and see the things and the tendencies that we have. And we talk about all the time in our program, it's the little things lead to big things. We can't focus on the big things. We got to focus on the details. And so alignment, assignment, technique, that's what wins football games. So from that all the way back to ball security, just spending some time going back to the basics of ball security, putting all of our skill guys through just the fundamentals of making sure that we all understand what we're trying to get accomplished with ball security. And that carries over into the fundamentals of the snap. After the snap, we had 2 snaps that we ball in this game. One went over the head versus NC State, and one down on the third down. We talked about the 4th down stop it on that third down play. Sean takes his eyes off the ball slightly and he fumbles it, and then he picks it back up and he tries to dive in there. But if you get that hand off, it's probably going to be a touchdown. So, this is a week for us to go back and really, really evaluate ourselves. And again, we believe that the program is all about punch. And if we take care of punch, we will be all right.
What you see on tape with Florida State's been more facing, like the last couple weeks, that's kind of allowed them to play better.
I think so, and I think some injuries probably came into factor there. And all of the personnel there, good players, very, very guys, back. So adding playing some young guys, you got to simplify things. Those guys line it up and they got fun. That's what you understand.
Country's best defense. Is that just a back of light down with the ACC?
I think so. I think that the ACC is making a claim for the quality of football that we have in this conference, and it is. Every week you come in, it's like, okay, it's the #1 defense, it's the #8 defense, it's the #10, but I think our guys wouldn't have it any other way. That's how they created their identity last year, and the only way that we can continue to sustain the level of performance that we want is we got to be challenged week in and week out. So, obviously as a coach, you're like, man, when are you going to get one that's not ranked in the top 10? But at the same time, that's what really motivates your guys to go out and perform.
All set?
Thanks,
Thanks,
man.
guys.
All right, appreciate it.